Today, I was so confused with my music. I had to know what a key signature was, and I had no idea what it was. If you're with me and you want to learn about key signatures, let's get started. Have you ever heard these two words used together in music? Key signature. If you don't know what a key signature means, I'm going to teach you today at the Musical Homestead. My name is Jenny, and you have found our elementary theory course. It's geared to the kindergarten through 5th grade learner. If you're in 6th grade through adult and you want to know what a key signature is, you need the Theory Musica course, and I'm going to link that in the description below. Today, we are going to be learning all about some of our basic key signatures, and we are using the textbook, The Fundamentals of Piano Theory. If you want to follow along with us with that textbook, I'm going to link that in the description below as well. Today, we start at Unit 10, on page 44. I'm excited to teach you about key signatures because by the end of today's lesson, you are going to be a key signature expert. Every song is written in a key signature. Today, we are going to learn about 3 major key signatures and 3 minor key signatures. Before we talk about key signatures, we're going to talk about scales. And if you did not watch the scale video, I'm going to link that in the description below. We learned about how to create scales using tetrachords. I have written up on my board the G major scale. When we followed our pattern, we knew we needed to have an F sharp for the G major scale. Here's the really cool thing about a key signature. If you know the scale, G major scale, you already know what the G major key signature is. The key of G major has 1 sharp in it, just like the scale, the G major scale, has 1 sharp. Now, instead of having to write all the sharps throughout the whole piece, if you're in the key of G major, the sharps get vacuumed and sucked right next to the clefs. And I'm going to show you how that works. So first what I do is I turn on my vacuum for both my clefs. Boop, boop. And once I turn on those vacuums, they are going to suck the sharps away from the notes that they are on and all the way over to here. And then they're going to disappear in my music. So just like that, my sharps got sucked away from my music and over here to my clefs. And now I have a key signature. I have the key signature of G major. G major has 1 sharp in it, F sharp, and I have written what the key signature will look like when I see it in music. I'm going to have a sharp down here on the F line and a sharp up there on the F line. That was kind of fun. I liked turning the vacuum on. Now let's go ahead and let's learn about F major. This is an F major scale. We know that an F major scale has a B flat. So I have written a flat on the B lines, and that lets me know that both of these are going to be flat. Now, in order to see what our F major key signature looks like, I have to turn my vacuums on. Boop, boop. And I'm going to vacuum in those flats right next to the clefs. We vacuumed them over. And this is what our key signature is going to look like. We're going to have a flat on the B line up here and a flat on the B line down here. This flat tells me every time I play a B in the music, it is going to be flat. One other thing I wanted to point out is that the first note of our scale is called the tonic or the key note. And that tells you what the name of the scale is and what the name of the key signature is. In our scale, F major, our tonic is going to be F. That is also our key note. We're going to end with my favorite scale and my favorite key signature. When I do this scale, C major, guess what? There are no sharps, no flats. So the key of C major is going to have no sharps and no flats. That means when I'm looking at my music, and if I'm in the key of C major, I'm going to have my clefs, and then there will be nothing after my clefs. That's pretty easy to remember. It's also really nice because when I'm playing a song in C major, I don't have to remember what accidentals are in my key signature. Now the composer could still throw in an accidental, but it would just appear right before the note that's supposed to be sharped or flat. Now you know 3 major key signatures. I've drawn them all up on my board because I want to give you some rules that apply to all different key signatures. The first rule is the location of where the key signature is going to be. You will always have the clefs at the beginning of your music. Then the key signature comes after, and then the time signature comes after that. In the key of C, there will be no accidentals, so the time signature will come directly after the clefs. But in all the other keys, you will have the key signature, and then I've written over here the time signature. Here's a fun fact. Key signatures appear on every line of music. However, time signatures do not appear on every line of music. Pull out some of the music you're working on and see if that's true. It's a fun rule. The next rule pertains to accidentals in key signatures. Now in the key of G major, I have a sharp on the F line up here, and I have a sharp on the F line up here. I will always have one sharp or one flat on the bass clef and one on the treble clef. You'll never just see, if you have a grand staff, you'll never just see one up here or maybe just one down here. There will always be one on each staff, and you'll never see multiple sharps. We'll never have a sharp here because that's an F, and maybe a sharp down there because that's an F. You only have one in each clef. Now, here's the deal. Just because there's not multiple sharps on all of the possible Fs doesn't mean that I'm not playing all of the Fs sharped. As a musician, I know every time I play an F, it has to be sharped. Now here's another rule. Just because I'm in the key of G major doesn't mean the composer can't throw in other accidentals. If you don't know what accidentals are, I'm going to link that lesson in the description below. Check that out. The composer might want a B flat in G major, and that flat would go directly in front of the note that he would want flatted. They also might want an F natural, and they might put a natural sign in front of an F. The composer can change the music if they want to, so still be on the lookout for accidentals. Now I want to give you a little tip on how to complete page 45 in your textbook. The first thing they want you to do is they want you to label the key signature. You're either going to be in the key of C, G, or F major. And you know that by the accidental. So C would have no sharps or flats, G would have one sharp, and F would have one flat. Then what they want you to do is once you have labeled the key you're in, they want you to go through and they want you to circle all of the notes that are going to be either sharped in G or flatted in F. So in G, you're going to circle all the Fs, no matter where they are on the staff. And for F, you're going to circle all of the Bs, no matter where they are on the staff. Good luck. Now you know 3 major key signatures. What I'm going to teach you next is that every major key signature has a relative minor key signature. I kind of call them buddies. They all have a buddy that they travel together. Now with these buddies, one thing makes them similar and one thing makes them different. The thing that makes them similar is that they share the same key signature. So if you notice up here, I'm doing C major and its buddy or relative minor is A minor. The thing that makes them similar is that they both share the same key signature. They both have no sharps and no flats. But what makes them different is that their tonic or key note is different. So in C major, the tonic is C. In A minor, the tonic is A. Now you might say, how do you know that, Jenny? The reason that I know these guys are buddies is that I followed a very, very simple pattern to find the relative minor to my major. I'm going to tell you what that is right now. When you have a major key, if you want to find the relative minor, you are going to go down 3 half steps. Here's C. C to B is 1 half step. B to B flat is the 2nd half step. And then B flat to A is the 3rd half step. So when I go from C down 3 half steps, I get A, which lets me know that C and A are buddies. A is this relative minor to C major. As we go through all of these today, I want you to start memorizing the majors and their buddy or relative minors. When we move on to G major, we are going to find its relative minor. Now, do you remember G major has 1 sharp? It has that F sharp. So if my key signature for G major is 1 sharp, F sharp, my key signature for E minor is also going to be 1 sharp, F sharp. That is how they're similar. The difference is that my tonic for G major is going to be G, and then the tonic for E minor is going to be E. Now remember, tonic is just kind of a fancy way to say the starting note, the first note. Like if we're doing a G major scale, the first note is going to be G. When we learn about E minor scales, the first note is going to be E. Now my question is, do you remember the pattern to find a relative minor? Do you? Awesome. It is 3 half steps down from the major. So we start with the major. Here's my major. We're going to go down 3 half steps. G to F sharp is 1. F sharp to F is 2. And then F to E is 3. G major's relative or buddy minor is going to be E minor. The last relative minor key we're going to learn about today is going to be the relative minor to F major. F major, we learned today, the key signature has 1 flat. It has a B flat. I have that up here. In order to find its relative minor, remember we're going to go down 3 half steps from F on the piano. So I have up here, F to E is 1 half step. E down to E flat is 2 half steps. And then E flat to D is 3 half steps. Yay! So our relative minor key to F major is going to be D minor. Remembering that F major, D minor, they both have the same key signature. They're both going to have 1 flat in the key signature. Now it's your turn to do a page in your workbook. You're going to do page 47. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how do you figure out what key these selections are in. The first thing you want to do is you want to look at the key signature. So if you have a flat, you know you're either going to be in F major or D minor. It's going to be one of those two. Now you might say, Jenny, how do I know if I'm in F major or D minor? And here's a little tip. For these selections, look at the first note of the selection and the last note of the selection. If the first note is F and the last note is F, you're going to be at F major. However, if the first note is, say, D, and the last note is D, you're probably going to be in D minor. That's a tip that I want you to kind of keep in your head as you go through this whole page on page 47 and you go ahead and you do your homework. Now, there are other ways to look at a selection or to play a selection and figure out if it's in major or minor, and I'm going to tell you those in the future. Right now, just look at the starting note, and that's going to tell you if you're in a major key or a minor key. I think you're an expert at key signatures now. There are so many different key signatures, and today I just introduced 3 of them to you. 3 major and then 3 minor. If you're interested in learning about other key signatures, I'm going to teach those in other videos, and I'm going to link those videos in the description below. That way you can become an expert at all of the key signatures. Now it's your turn to do your homework. If you've been following along with us, you have 4 pages to do: 44, 45, 46, and 47. Go through all of those, make sure you do them correctly and take your time. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always go back in this video and you can watch my teaching. Another way to get better at remembering what your key signatures are is to use flashcards. And I've used these a lot in our other videos. These flashcards also have key signature flashcards. I would pull out the 3 that we learned today and practice those. Set them on your piano so you can practice them each time that you sit down to practice. The other thing that I want to tell you about these flashcards is when you look on the back of them, they tell you what the major key is and the minor. Remember, those guys are buddies, and you always want to think about the major and the minor and how they relate together. It's a really good way to memorize them. Did you know we are almost done with the preparatory level? You are almost done with the whole first book of this theory course. Great job. Keep up the good work. I can't wait to see you next time when we move on to Unit 11. But before you go, do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button so that you know what's coming next. Until I see you next time, remember to have fun learning music.